Accra to Hong Kong, Hong Kong.
But we need to go further. And where the bill is now, the Gender Committee and the caucus want to be able to bring it on the floor. What happened is the executive order that our former president put out only lasts for 1 year. And since we have come in the 54th, we have been trying to get settled, get around, fuel our bearings. But we want to start actively engaging the Ministry of Gender, our Women's Political Forum, our former lawmakers, so that we come as one voice to talk about these issues, so that though we are not many, as I said in my beginning, we want to come in strong. We are talking with our male counterparts to come in to back us on it. And let us really go into the law where we see the issue of FGM, as I said before. We have to go back. We have to go back, and as our sister said, in Senegal it was positive because it was the traditional people, the Zos, the people who practice were the ones that decided among themselves, and then they brought it. So if that is the best practice, we will do that. But we want the bill to pass, and as Honorable Weah said, it can be amended to bring back FGM if we want it to be, because it is a problem when it comes to family relationships later on. But if that is the case, that we can't pass it because of this, to me, we should put all of our energies in re-looking at the bill, restructuring it so that it will be passed. And we want you from today to take it back to your constituents, discuss it, bring in, your suggestions, and we'll have another meeting. This is our first hearing. We will have a second hearing, and when we come to a final conclusion, the day it is passed, you all will be invited again to an open session where we can all celebrate the passage of the domestic violence bill. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much. And our international partners and friends, we have the British and the Swedish ambassadors here. Maybe we would just love to take a war from them. NDI is here also, right? So, UN Women. So we have 4 of them here. So before the ambassadors speak by protocol, we'll listen to the NDI. Just a brief comment, then we'll listen to the UN Women, a brief comment, then before we go to the ambassadors. So do we have the NDI here? The National Democratic Institute. I think he stepped out. Oh, so we'll take the UN Women. The UN Women.
No, NDI.
NDI? Yeah.
To make sure that they come out and be more like progressive and help Liberian women to be more like represented and not to be, kept in the back. So for this, I'd like to say on behalf of NDI, we will give our support and then keep in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, NDI. UN Women after another NDI.
The administration, and I'm excited by the attendance and the commitment of the women here with us today, and I strongly feel that if we are able to work together the way we are doing, we will definitely achieve more in as far as the putting together of gender-sensitive legislation in place is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Including or not including FGM. I have said on many occasions, and you have heard it before, I represent a government who runs a feminist foreign policy, and this means that I have a mandate to raise, whenever the occasion presents itself, issues of gender equality and issues relating to women. And this is based on the conviction in Sweden that gender equality actually makes your country better off. It makes it richer, it speeds up your development, and it uses the competencies and the skills and the gifts and the abilities of the entire population, men, women, women, girls and boys. My mandate, of course, then is to communicate this when I can, but I also try to follow, and I think every country needs to find its own way on how to develop and which issues to address and how to address them. Let me say that culture is not written in stone. When I was a kid, it was permitted in my country to hit children, and it happened. It didn't happen to me because that was not the culture in my family, but it happened to classmates. They were hit. Some of them were badly hit. In 1979, the Swedish Parliament decided this is against the law. Today, it is illegal. For parents, for guardians, for siblings, for anybody, you simply do not hit children. Today, this is our culture. It wasn't written in stone, it can change, and you who live in your country, you decide what is your culture at any point in time. Thank you very much.
Women's rights and equality is a cornerstone of our domestic and foreign policy, and particularly bringing about the end to harmful practices such as FGM, but also girls' education and equality generally. We are all aware of traditional practices, and as in Sweden and the UK. We've had to overcome them. You do it sensitively, but it's not an excuse for inaction. You do have to address it. But I'll leave with one thought. 100 years ago today, well, 100 years ago, women first got the vote in the UK, and one of the main campaigners for that vote, Emily Pankhurst, said that a country cannot rise above the status of its women. And whilst you marginalise women, you're not fulfilling the full potential of the country. And so that's why this debate is really important. I'm very grateful for you to inviting us here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What we call mock parliament. It does not presuppose that when they go to session, maybe they will be against this domestic violence bill. And let me express my opinion. Like I said, I'm a he for she. I'm an ardent supporter of that and uncompromising supporter. I listened to the cross-fertilization of views, and when I listened to the former parliamentarian, Caesar, she said one important thing that I think we need to consider. The issue of strategy is very important, because if you don't have the proper strategy, you may not succeed. If you have the proper strategy, you will succeed. And the issue of not making this bill a bill only for women, because domestic violence can be meted against whether male or whether female. Some of the issues in the bill that have been raised are very significant. Okay, some of our colleagues on the legislative floor will raise a lot of issues. Yes, a lady lived with me for 10 years. That means I got to do some compensation when I'm putting her out. But what's about the men who also live with the women for 10 years? How does the law consider that? That's another issue that some of our colleagues will raise. Another issue here, on the issue of rape, you know, is a tacit thing, because it will begin to find loopholes in the law, then we will find escape routes. What do I mean by that? Yeah, I understand people say sometimes they lie on you. I do agree with that, and you are placed behind bars for 1 year. But sometimes also a child may be raped, and there's no sufficient evidence to prove that that child was raped. And if the judge renders a decision to free the rapist or the alleged rapist, and the alleged rapist goes and sues that family, is another issue we should consider. I think the law is acceptable. Yeah, maybe in the future you can look at some other aspect of it. And another thing is that we all have culture. I have a culture. I'm from the VAR ethnic group. But the fact of the matter, sometimes, like one of the speakers said, culture are not necessarily written in stone. In Liberia now, you don't just see people beating the kids in school. In the past, we took 25 lashes. Even if you fail in one subject, sometimes they give you 5 for each subject. So meaning that if this child fails in 10 subjects, 5 times 10, that's 50 on your bare back. But that has changed. Even parents will go to the school now and say, why you beat my child? So that cultural change, we should also consider that. Another issue that has been raised on the FGN here is the issue of consent, especially underage. I believe there could be a strategy. But how do we talk to our traditional people? How do we meet them? Because one of the things they raised here today is the issue of isolation. They said they were not properly consulted, they were not properly spoken to, and the fact of the matter sometimes is that the bulk of our lawmakers come from rural Liberia, and they go for votes. So if we don't properly handle it, some people's decision will be on the basis of how the people will vote for them. In my district, maybe I will have a different concept because I'm in Central Monrovia. I will have a different concept. Maybe I can stand the high moral grounds and say, this is where I stand on this issue. The women, they have a lot of powers, but I don't see them using their powers. We got dominant in the legislature men. But you the women, you the wives, you the girlfriends, how have you been able to convince them? That's another issue. How do you convince them? Do you vote for people on the basis of issues also? What do they present to you? For example, if a colleague is coming and say, look, there's domestic violence law, I will support it. And that's the agenda. Because the interest groups say, look, we will support this representative or this senator because we believe that he will seek our interests. That's how sometimes people vote people into the parliament. These are issues. Okay? Some other people may say, if you don't support the FGN, then we will support you. Those are critical issues. But I think all in all, we are reaching a reasonable level. And if the strategy is to take on the FGN, it's for the decision of the people. If the strategy is to maintain the FGN, but with consent, and maybe children under the age of 18 should not go there, that could be a discussion also. But here you say FGN, but even the boys also go to the poor society. So how do you consider that? Okay, how do you also consider that, and how do you address that? Because our international partners will have to understand that it's not only about the women, it's also about our boys. Okay? I hear people talking about sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is not only women, it's also boys. Okay? That's sexual abuse. And one of the biggest challenges here, and I thank God that the general ministry is here, the calling other ministries, the implementation of our laws in this country is a big challenge. Sometimes people think the lawmakers are super lawmakers, that they should implement the laws. They say, oh, the minister is not doing her work, or this minister is not doing his work, and you think that the lawmaker can just grab that minister and put the minister behind bars. It doesn't work. We have a lot of laws. We have laws against abuse of the kids. We have laws on the books, but how do we implement the laws? It's very important. We have laws even that compulsory primary education, primary education, people policy, executive orders. How do we implement the case assault in the street? How do we implement that? But all in all, we are a supporter of the bill. We lobby our colleagues when the bill is placed on the floor, and I'm opting that the bill will be placed on the floor in the soonest possible time. As we go for our cultural break in September, as lawmakers, we can take the bill to our constituency, discuss with our constituents, and we can be able to make some interventions. Because I can go to the traditional council, talk to my parents there, try to make a case with them, and I think they will be able to understand the issue of the FGN, maybe in a context, in a compromised version. So again, we want to say thank you very much, and the session is adjourned.
Thank you. First. Now, I only want. I only want.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to say thanks to everybody for coming. Before you leave,